Yeah. So yeah. So what actually the object-oriented concepts we discussed is we understood about what do you mean by class. We understood about what do you mean by object. We understood about what do you mean by inheritance. Okay. We understood about what do you mean by abstraction. Okay. There is something called as encapsulation. And what is the last one? Polymorphism. Okay. This is what we were discussing. This is what we are discussing. Like we finished about classes. How do we create classes, implementing inheritance, objects, abstraction, encapsulation, and all. But when I'm coming to the polymorphism, what do you mean by polymorphism? Polymorphism is existing of one thing, one or same thing in multiple forms. Okay, existing of the same guy in multiple forms, we call it as a polymorphism. For example, there is something called as function overloading. Okay, in other technologies, what actually we can do is function, something called as add values. Okay, there is something called as int a, there is something called as int b, like this. Okay, we can define the same method name, add values, something called as float a, comma, float b. Okay, this is the function one. This is the function one, and this is the function two here. Now, when I say something called as add values of 10, comma 20, okay, it calls F1, function one. When I say add values of 2.5, comma 6.5, so it calls F2. So this is going to have, this is what we call it as a inheritance concept, defining the same method name and giving different, same method name is used and multiple bodies has been given with some different functionalities. So this is what we call it as function overloading. So existing of the same method name in many forms. Okay, that is what we call it as polymorphism or overloading. But now when I come to the JavaScript, in case of your JavaScript, what is going to happen? So this is in C language or C++, etc. in other technologies. But when I come to your JavaScript, okay, in your JavaScript, when we are going to define a function is going to be something like add values. Here we are not specifying any type of data type. Isn't it? We are not going to specify the data type while we are defining a function in your JavaScript. Now, if that is the case, now when I say another function, add values of say count C, comma D. Okay, this is function one. This is function two. Now, when I say add values of say some 10, comma 20, okay, what is the function it's going to call? It is going to call F2 only. Okay, I say add values of say some 2.5, comma 5.6, obviously, which is the function getting called, it's going to call F2 only. So there is no concept of overloading the function. We cannot define multiple functions having the same name with different body. Any number of functions you define with the same name, the latest one, whatever is there, that is what I'm going to take. In JavaScript, it's not supporting the overloading. Obviously, if no overloading, no overriding. Implies polymorphism is the concept which is not being supported in your JavaScript. That is the reason we say JavaScript is not a complete object-oriented programming language, but it is partially object-oriented programming language. Clear, everyone? Okay. So this is about the object-oriented concepts. Now the next concept what we have in our advanced JavaScript is we discuss about what? The next concept is exception handling. Okay, one of the very important concept. So put some extra attention. Now, before we talk about the exception, we need to understand what do you mean by an error. For example, I say that, boss, there are some set of instruction I'm writing in my application. I'm having something called as error. What do you mean by an error? Error means, sorry, mistake. Okay. Error is a mistake in the program. Next, a very common thing what we do in our application when we are writing. So error means, can I say that set of or single instruction makes the application gets stopped without execution. Can I say this? Either it might be a single instruction or the set of instruction which is making the application to stop the current execution or abruptly just get out of the application. That is what going to call it as error. Now, when I go to this error, in this error, there are two types of errors. One is syntactical errors and one is dynamic errors or runtime errors, we can call it as. Okay, there is something called as syntactical errors or runtime errors. These syntactical errors are also called as compile time errors. Okay, the errors which get raised at the time of compilation, we call it as a syntactical errors. The errors which get raised at the time of runtime, we call it as a runtime error at the time of execution. Now, what is going to happen is whenever we are done with our coding, okay, whenever the code is being done, the code, I mean, development is done. When you're giving to the browser to execute this guy, two jobs are going to happen. One is compilation and one is execution. Okay, what do you mean by this compilation? Under this compilation, we are going to check for syntactical errors. Okay, what do you mean by syntactical errors? Are we following the JavaScript specified rules and regulations or not? Okay, let me show you. For example, okay, for example, I say var a is equal to say some 90. I say var b is equal to say some 99. I say var some c is equal to a plus b. Okay, console log c value. Now when I'm executing this guy, okay, when I'm executing this, go to the console. You see here 189 is the value which is being print. Okay, I say something called a CLG start of app. End of app. Okay, now when I come back and once I reload the page, so start is coming, end is coming, in between the result is coming. What I have done is I have not given the operator here or else I have not given the equal to or here. What is this? Error it is. So what type of error it is? Syntactical errors. Boss, you have not followed the set of rules and regulations what JavaScript has given. Whenever you want to assign a value, equal to is the operator what you need to put, and we cannot say directly variables next to each other like this. Just give me a second, guys. Yeah, sorry guys. Okay, so what actually it is now when I'm saying something called C equal to, I'm not putting that equal to operator. What does that mean? We are not following the rules what JavaScript has been given. Obviously, that is an error. So what type of error it is? Syntactical error. So what actually happens is, in case of this, whenever we are giving the piece of code for the execution, the first thing what happens is compilation is going to happen. What do you mean by compilation? Compilation is JavaScript is going to take that JavaScript engine is going to have, which will understand each and every line of code, whether user has strictly followed the rules and regulations or not. Yes, user has strictly followed the rules and regulation. Now that piece of code will be converted back into the system understandable language. Okay, that language, that content will be converted into system understandable language. Now that will be executed and the result will be shown back to us. Okay, so that is what going to happen in case of the execution process. Now, whenever you have, for example, if you see here, there is an error at line number 14. Now, if you see here, when I'm reloading the page, I'm having an error at line number 14 saying that boss, it is a syntactical error expected so and so. But our question is, why this line number 11 not executed? Okay, the question is, when there is a which is fine, a line number 11 which is having a right code, why this guy not get executed? The reason is actually it haven't even gone to the execution phase, boss. It has stopped in the compilation phase itself. In the compilation itself, when I'm going to each and every line, I see that boss, there is an error. I'm stopping there. I have not even gone for the execution. So until and unless you pass the compilation phase, execution never going to happen. Are we clear? Online, are we clear with this? Can you please explain inheritance one more time? I will come to that later after this, Ashfaq. Okay, so this is what going to happen in case of your compilation and runtime. We need to finish all the errors which is being raised in the time of compilation has to be fixed. Then only we can go with the execution process. There is no way. If you say that, boss, there is an error at line number 14, why don't we ask the JavaScript to skip the line number 14 and go to line number 15? Okay, why don't we ask the line, like the JavaScript guy to skip this line number 14 and execute with your line number 15 and your 16? So how I can do that? It is not at all possible. If it is a syntactical error, you need to fix that guy. But there are some errors which we call it as runtime errors. What do you mean by the runtime errors? For example, if I say where A is equal to say some 90, I say where B is equal to say some 30, I say where C is equal to A plus B plus Z. Okay, then I will say that console log the C value. You tell me, do you have any syntactical errors? What is the error you see here? Z not defined here. Okay, you tell me, is it a syntactical error? Are we missing any rules and regulations syntactically? No, right? We are doing fine. A equal to 90, B equal to 30. We are not missing anything here. Now, if you see here, what is going to happen when I say console log start of the app, I say console log end of app. Okay, now when I'm saving this, when I'm coming back over here, when I'm reloading the page, you see start of the app has come. Earlier, it was not even throwing, it was not even executing this. But now execution executed implies in compilation, I don't see any type of errors. Compilation phase is successful. It has gone into the error phase, execution phase. At the time of execution, it identified that variable Z is not defined. Then it is going to throw this error. So these type of errors. So the error what we are going to get over here is runtime error. Okay, so what we are going to get is runtime error. If you see here, these all comments, am I writing it or automatically getting filled? What it is, who is helping this? If you remember, I was discussing about the Copilot. So Copilot is actually helping this. So this is how, what do you mean by Copilot here? The guy who can help you when you're developing your applications. So he will help you to automatically fill the data for you. So that is how intelligent that he's automatically identifying that there could be an error. He's automatically throwing the error back to you. Okay. Anyway, So this is how you're going to throw the runtime. It is going to throw me the runtime error over here saying that boss Z is not defined. Okay, so here we are already successful with your compilation, but at the time of execution, the runtime error has come. Now the logic what we have is, okay, when there is a compile time error here, no way we can go back to the next step. Okay, when there is a runtime error at line number 21, is there is a chance you can go to the next step here? Yes, it is possible. Okay, in case of runtime errors, what the advantage we have is we can skip this line number 21 and we can make the application to go forward for execution process. Okay, that is what we call it as a exception handling. Okay, what do you mean by exception handling? So the process of handling the runtime error being raised and making the application to go with execution without stopping. Okay, so what actually exception handling is, we could able to process the process of handling the runtime errors, whichever is being raised, and we are not stopping the execution here, but we could able to go further in the execution process. So that is what we call it as a runtime exceptions. So any questions on this? Anyone? Any questions? Okay, so now what actually we are doing is, as I said, your compilation, no way you need to fix it. But in case of runtime error, we can fix it. We can handle that. So how you are going to handle the runtime exceptions? So we can actually handle the runtime exceptions by using some keywords. Okay, there are some predefined keywords supported in your JavaScript. What are those? There is something called as a try. There is something called as a catch. Okay, there is something called as a finally. Okay, there is something called as throw. There is something called as throws. These are the predefined keywords using which we could able to handle the errors which is being raised at runtime. Any questions? Clear everyone? Okay, so we could able to handle this. We could able to make, we could able to make use of these keywords to handle the runtime errors. Now let us check the syntax, how the runtime exceptions are going to be handled. So what we can do is, there might be some set of instructions. Under that, there is something called as a try block. Okay, under the try block, we have some set of instructions. Under that, we have something called as a catch. Under that, we are going to have some error object like this. Okay, and under that, we have some set of instructions. Now I say finally. This is how it is going to look like. Under the finally, we have some set of instructions. Now, what are these instructions in the try block here? The instructions in which there is a chance of getting runtime error. Okay, this is what we have. Under the try block, we are going to put the set of instructions in which there is a chance of getting a runtime error. In case of your catch block, what is still we write? The set of instructions to handle exception. Okay, exception being raised in try block. Whatever the exception which is being raised inside your try block, that will be handled inside your catch block. Okay, this guy automatically gets executed if executed when the exception gets raised in try block. Okay, whenever the exception gets raised within your try block, automatically this is the one which is getting executed. Okay, now what do you mean by this finally block? It's an optional block. Okay, it's not mandated that we have to keep the finally block. It is an optional. Will for sure executed irrelevant of for sure executed irrelevant of whether the exception been raised or not. Okay, doesn't matter whether the exception has been raised or not, these guy for sure gets executed. So what is the flow here? When I'm coming to the try block, when I come to line number 68, if there is an exception, what I will do, I will automatically go to the catch block. Line number 69 will be skipped. Okay, when there is an exception at line number 68, I am going to stop the execution of this. I will automatically go to the catch block to handle the exception. Now, once the complete exception has been handled, then I come to the finally, I'm going to execute this. Now, say for example, I'm coming to the try block. I'm executing line number 67. I'm executing line number 68. At the time of 68, I don't see any type of error. Things are working fine. Then I will execute 69. Now, when there is no exception, I will automatically go to the finally block. Catch will not be executed. So catch is a block where what we are giving is if there is an error, you make sure this gets executed. So that is what we call it as exception handling process. Okay. Any questions on this? Okay, Hassan, sir, good morning. We will use 3 at a time or we can use any of the try, catch, finally or situation based. As I said you, right, Hassan? Hope you are clear now. It is not like try is an individual block, catch is an individual block or final is an individual block. These 3 are relevant. Try guy will be holding the set of instructions where there is a chance of getting an error. Catch guy in order to handle the error. Finally guy, optional guy, which gets executed. Now, if you say that, boss, I will use only this try block, it is a syntactical error. Try block without a catch or without a finally is a syntactical error. So for sure, the try block should have either the catch or the finally, and that too, the immediate block. Okay, Hassan, hope you are clear, right? It is nothing like I'm not saying that exception handling can be done either by try, either by catch, either by finally. No, exception handling can be handled by using all the keywords. Any more questions? Online? No questions? Okay. Offline, any questions? All good? Okay, now what I'm saying is, let us see to this guy. What I say is, boss, there is an error at line number 21. Exception. Now what I'm saying here, my exception, my point of thing is, if there is an error at line number 21, skip the 21 and 23 because 21, 23 are related. Now, why don't you skip this guy, but execute the line number 24? That is what my expectation is. Now, what I'm going to do is, I simply put this guy wherever there is a chance of getting a runtime error, you please keep this guy inside the try block. Okay, wherever there is a chance of getting error, 1 instruction, 2 instruction, 3 instruction, any set of instruction, keep inside the try block. Now I'm just keeping inside the try block here. You see, it is a syntactical error. Try guy should either have the finally or the catch guy. Now, very immediate after this try, I say catch error. Okay, I just simply said like catch with error. I haven't added anything here, just a empty catch block. Now, when I come back, reload the page. You see what is the advantage we have? Boss, even though there is a runtime error, I'm not stopping my application. I could able to go further and execute this guy. But the problem is, what are we doing in the catch? In catch, what we have to do is handle that error. What is the reason for that error? Or let the user knows that. Now I'll say CLG, C value, B, okay, is it Z, right? Z is not defined. Okay, I'm letting the user that boss Z is not defined. Now when I come back, reload the page. You see what happened here? It is coming to the try block. Whenever I come to line number 24, you see one more thing is, for example, CLG inside try block. Now when I come back here, you see, is the inside try block got executed? No. Why the reason? When there is an error at line number 22, I immediately jump to the catch block. Okay. For example, when I say try block, I'll say CLG about to start try block. Now, once I come back and reload the page, you see about to start try block got executed, implies I'm going inside. When I'm coming to line number 23, there I have an error. I just stopped executing. I jumped from there to handle the catch block. So to let the user know that what actually happened, and I'm continuing the remaining instruction. But without try, for example, what if I say var z is equal to say some 100? Is there is any chance of getting a runtime error now? No. Now if you see here, you see catch block has not executed. Catch block will only come into the picture if there is an error. If there is no error, catch block will be skipped out. Understood, everyone? Shubhangi, is there throw exist? We will talk about that, Shubhangi. There is something called as throw and throws. Okay, we'll talk about this. What is the difference between the throw and throws, which is user defined exceptions? We'll come to that later. Right now, we are only talking about the try and catch keywords. Hope everyone is clear up to here. Okay, now let us say, now you may ask me a question, boss, what is the reason you are putting this try catch? Why you are unnecessarily not declaring the variable? Now you are saying that it is a runtime error. Now you are handling it. If you as a developer, you already know that there is a chance of getting a runtime error, then why do you skip it? You fix that guy. You know that Z is not going to be, it is going to throw me an error. So just declare the variable. That's it. Why you are not declaring the variable and again saying that catch is going to take it? So we are going to use this try catch block not for the intentionally added exceptions. There are some exceptions which gets raised. It gets raised on a flow. On a flow in the sense depending on the situation. For example, I am expecting a data from the server. Okay, I'm hitting the server. Server is throwing me the data. I'm assuming that server is giving me an array. I'm iterating over the array for loop or so and so. What if server guy instead of array he has thrown something called as a JSON? So my application is going to be broken, right? So here the situation, I mean, it is not the developer's code which has failed. It is the output what been thrown from the server got changed. That is the reason exception has been raised. In the same way, sometimes we take the data from the user. We are expecting that user please enter a number. Now, as the keyboard is under user's hand, instead of number, he is giving something else. Obviously, it is an exception. I cannot stop the flow of the execution there. Instead, I need to handle that guy. I need to handle that error, isn't it? So that is where we have to go with the exception handling concept. Okay, let us create a very simple real-time example. Okay, I'll say exception dot html. Vaishnavi. So instead of giving z variable at the starting, why we are using error handling? So hope you're clear now, Vaishnavi. As I said you right, I just gave an example that how the exception handling is working. Okay, but yes, in general, you have to give that variable. But there are some cases, that is what the real-time example I'm going to create, where we intentionally don't create an error, but it might come. So how to handle that? That's what I will show you. Anand, Ajay, no, we are hard coding the error. How we can dynamically show the error in the console in try catch? So what do you mean by dynamic here, Anandu? So if you want dynamic, it can be done, right? If you really want to show the dynamic, you know, this error object itself is there. For example, this error object, that error object will have all the extra information regarding the error being thrown. You see, reference Z is not defined. That is part of that error object. Am I clear, Anandu? So that's a dynamic error. Okay. Yeah. So let us take this real-time example. Okay, so I'm just creating a simple task assigner job. So I say input type equal to text, ID is equal to so and so, enter username. Okay, I say input type equal to say some button. ID equal to save name. Now what I have to do is on click of the save name, I say on click save name. Let me create an external page app.js where save name is so and so. Okay, if you see here, nothing I have written. This all piece of code, it has automatically been written. Okay, but yeah, I mean, as a developer, I know that it is getting advantage, but as a student, you have to do by your own. Okay, that is how you'll get it. You know, like the main advantage nowadays, right? Every organization, they are forcing the developers to make use of this Copilot. Without Copilot, they're not asking to don't do any type of code. The reason is the code, what it has been given is the valid code, tested code, trustable code. At the same time, it is faster. Now to write those instructions, I may take some 5 minutes of time, but now I'm saving my time by automatically filling the data. Isn't it? So these type of helps what we are going to get. Now I say where s name, but as a developer, you have to understand that you have to write with your own hand. That is where you will understand that, okay, this is what we write. Because like when you go into the interview, don't say that boss Copilot will give me. Okay. So this is the name what I got. And for s name, I'll make it as a global variable. So once the user clicks on this name, what I need to do is I need to have another button where the value I'll give it as create a task container. On click, create container. Okay, now what this create container will do, where create container is equal to so and so. You see, every other thing got added automatically. I mean, I just said like create container. It automatically created a div, added the class, added the ID. This is what actually I wanted. And it has automatically come. Copilot. Okay. So I say create container. My expectation is I say var div tag. I want to create a container here. Div tag equal to document dot create element div tag. And div tag class is so and so. Div tag dot set attribute ID as a class container. Okay, and this task container should be added to what? I will say another div ID is equal to block. Okay, for this block, I would like to add this task container. I say document dot query selector hash block dot append child div tag. Okay, I'm creating a div, and div I'm setting the class. For that guy, I'm setting the attribute. For that guy, I'm putting the ID as append child. Okay, after this, let us put the CSS container, right? I say dot container this friction dot we have not written. Okay, now once I reload the page, when I say create container, border 1 pixels are it. I say create container. Create container is not defined. Obviously, I need to include that app.js file here. Okay, this is how I'm going to create a container. Okay, this is a task container block which is getting created. For this guy, we have added the ID, right? Yeah, task container. Now, what I do is I'll create another button. I'll say something called as show my task today. Okay, I'll say show task. What this show task will do, task is equal to this task. Okay, task is equal to, for now, I'm just hard coding this guy. I'll say that do the code review of every module. Okay, and what is my task container? The task container is this guy. Task div is so and so. I'll simply say task container dot task container. For the task container, we have to set this inner HTML. Dot inner HTML is equal to task for sname is the task. Did we discuss about this dollar of sname? We discussed a string interpolation by just putting into the backquotes. We discuss it, right? Thanks. Support. Yes, it has been supported. Can you explain how we can? Ganesh, can you explain how we can use Copilot? I already shown that, right? That day in the Copilot, how do we install? And I have shown that, Ganesh. Anyway, I can repeat if you want, but we had that day I have shown you. Like it's simple. When you go with the extensions, right? You go into the extension and search for something called as Copilot. Okay. So this guy will be shown as an extension. Once you click on this guy, you see, you install this guy, it will be automatically installed and it will just start enabled automatically. Okay. It's very simple to do that. Okay, so I have this. Now we understood this, right? So task for S name. It will automatically take the S name and it is going to put into the P tag here. Now once I uh, come back here, reload the page, what I'm saying is I'm Mr. Prasad. I say save my name. Now I say create a task container. Now I say show my task for the today. So task for Prasad is do the code review for every module. So this is what my requirement has come. Okay, on the top, I can say something called as var show welcome message. Sorry, what happened to this guy all of a sudden? I think the issue is with the projector. Yeah, at least it's visible, right? Yeah. So what I'm saying is this is a very simple task container we have created. I mean, every day, for example, I'm going to the office. So this is the application which will help me that what is the task I need to work for today. Now I'm saying that what is my employee name? Say something called as Tina. What happened? One second, guys. There is some issue with the projector. Do we have that guy? One second, online students. I hear some issue with the projector. I'll just call him. One second. You can come. Yeah. So, so assume like this is a very simple task container. I mean, we created this application assuming that every day they come into office, they have to give the details. They simply click on the save name. They say that create a task container. Okay, I say Mr. Raj. I click on save. I click on task container. What happened? Unexpected end of the input at line number 21. All good. What is 21 missing? Does it say in the JavaScript file? App.js line number 21. Oh, show welcome message we are pending. Okay. Okay. One more thing is let me finish the welcome message. Then I will show explain that guy. I say there is another div. Okay. So when the user clicks on the show welcome block, I will say, okay, at the same time, I would like to even unhide this guy. Okay, now when I'm saving this, now when I have to show this welcome message after this show task. Okay, save this guy, come back over here, reload the page. Now what is our application is doing is every day morning I come to this application. I say I'm Mr. Prasad. I say my save my name. I say create a task container. Now I have to say show the task for today. I say that, oh, okay, thanks Prasad for doing this.